Is it a good idea to add Homebrew to your D&D campaign? Well, the short answer is, it depends. Homebrew can be good or bad for your campaign, depending on how it's used. So first of all, Homebrew can be a lot of fun. Homebrew for D&D is anything that isn't already part of one of the published games. So it could be a setting, a magic item, a player race. Homebrewing is basically the tabletop version of adding mods to a video game. Some homebrew can be terribly unbalanced, and that is bad. As an example, I played through a game once where the Dungeon Master homebrewed a bunch of monsters that all had blind sight. So everything was super hard to fight and it wasn't any fun at all. Homebrew can add more options for players, and that is good. So it can be a player race, it can be magic items, whatever gives your character something more to play with is a great time. Some homebrew can just be plain stupid. So sometimes players will show up to a game and they'll have a joke character or something along those lines. They won't really have an attitude towards the game and take it seriously. And in some games, some groups, that is simply not fun. Some people show up to have a more serious kind of game, and so showing up with a cleric that can summon hundreds of pounds of garlic bread just isn't the kind of character that that party wants to play with. On the flip side of that very same thing, homebrew like that, which is plain silly, can be a lot of fun. If everyone agrees to it and knows what they're getting into, that kind of silliness can be just the thing a D&D game needs for players to keep showing up. As an example, silly homebrew that was a lot of fun, one of the games I was playing in had a fumble chart that had things on it that were just completely ridiculous. And one of the things was that if you fumbled, a whale would fall from the sky and crush everyone in a certain area, and it dealt whale damage. So nothing is resistant to whale damage. And that was kind of silly, and it never happened, but we did get covered in a pile of oranges once, and that was kind of crazy. That's the thing I'm talking about. If it's silly, it can be super fun. If it's silly, it can be not fun. It really just depends on the group you're playing with, so in that case, it's good or bad. Now, from the DM's perspective, homebrewing can take a lot of work. This is more neutral, and some DMs have a lot of fun in creating their own world with their own monsters and their own creatures and things. And that's on them. They can do that, and that's fun for them. Some people don't want to do that. Most of the time, though, homebrewing, and especially house rules, can streamline the game and make it more accessible and more fun for everyone at the table. And that can elevate the gaming experience for everyone. One of the house rules that my players are particularly fond of is when someone misses a session, their character may still level up if the rest of the party leveled up, but they will not receive any gold or treasure items that the party finds in the session they miss. I talked about it with my players. I said, you know what, that's pretty fair, and it gives them a penalty for not showing up to the game, but it doesn't punish them completely because they still level up. And that kind of house rule just makes the gaming experience better for my players. A good rule of thumb is to communicate with the group, players, and the Dungeon Master on whether or not to use homebrew and how much to use. Homebrew can be a positive addition to the game and is generally very good. Subscribe to Patty Cap Guy. My child is crying, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, hashtag parent life.